138 Monday morning. So you sell 1,000 now.
Thank God it's Friday. I know why they say that now. It is Friday, and I'm here with my very special friend,
Are we live?
Ed Milewski. No, Ed, we're not going on for another. Oh, wait, we've been on for like 5 seconds now. Yeah, we're live.
We're alive.
You're alive.
Okay,
it's
so
alive.
nice little relief rally here. Is it a relief?
First day with a new tongue.
Guys,
Chardonnays too refreshed.
Just got this one. The other one's worn out.
Let's see. Relief rally. Well, yeah, the stocks are recovered a bit of ground this morning. I don't know if we're going to call that
Do you know what
rally.
they attribute the move to?
What do they attribute the move
Interest
to?
rates rising. The bond market was actually selling off, which meant rates are rising. And so rates rising, they're thinking, oh, all must be well in the world.
So let me get this straight. The average cannabis trader and investor is, first thing they do in the morning is get up and let's watch the bond rates.
No, I'm talking about, because the S&P was up 40 points today.
Yeah, briefly.
Well, what's it at now?
I don't know. That's your department. I'm the cannabis guy.
It's up 40 points.
It's not.
What's that say?
I don't know. 40 points. 40 schmorty. So why isn't weed up? We waded into the weeds, and I
bought some and I sold it. I made money.
You did? How much you make?
$800.
$800? That's impressive. Boy, you're quite the mover and shaker. I think you're what they call a whale, aren't you?
Yeah, a bit of a whale.
That whale? Did you see that trade? That was the whale. Yes, the entire sector is green once again. I do believe that I have neglected to turn on my NDI. Let's hope that does it. Am I on the right network? Yes, I am. Sorry? Can't hear you, mate. Even though I'm at maximum on my little doohickey. Anyways, I'm communicating with a world that you can only sense. You can't see, taste,
Is it a
smell,
virtual world?
or touch it. Yeah, there we go. Look at that. Okay, so here we are. There's a bit of a bounce in the market. 2.8% up on the big board and 2.68 on the small board, and we got a 1.68 on the venture index.
Lots of
1.61% higher on the CSE, but the whole market is up, as is the S&P. So there is no doubting that we correlate the sentiment and the health in the cannabis space to the S&P now, which is such a sad thing. I blame all the companies who rushed to NASDAQ and the NYSE for that. If it wasn't for you greedy motherfuckers all up in there to get in a hurry in front of that big stock exchange so you could say to your fans, I ain't no penny stock, I'm on the NASDAQ. So I'm a big swinging
When you say greedy mother.
Yes, fornicator.
Is the greedy is an adjective, but what's is that a noun?
Well, collectively it's another adjective. No, it would be a noun, yeah.
But it's two insults.
Rolled into one. That's what you call maximum insult efficiency. Really? Anyways, I do apologize if my language offends you, but fuck off if you don't like it.
Yeah, you're flush now. You just made yourself a couple $1,000.
No, I didn't. I'm still holding the bag, man. I'm still holding the bag.
Waiting for more.
Yeah, no, I'm now.
Hey, flying, 37.40.
Yeah, see? I'm now a long-term holder.
If it closes strong today, I'd suggest sell it.
But how am I going to sleep this weekend?
Oh, well. Like you
I'm
always
just kidding.
do. With CBD.
Yeah. CBD, yes, I have no problem sleeping, that is for sure. Okay, so the markets are up because the S&P is up, and that's because some mealy-mouthed talking head in the mainstream media said that but remember, everything's fine now?
But look, if rates keep dropping, that's an indication of contraction, right? Contraction means less.
Your contractions get closer together, you're almost giving birth. And you know you have a microphone sticking out of your chest.
Yeah, as a matter of fact.
I love the what we'll call broadcast set fashion here that we've always got.
You like that, eh?
Well, like the microphone wrapped around your ear with the... Yeah, that's cool.
Oh yeah, get rid of that.
Get ready for the Secret Service there.
Oh, you know what? You probably been trying to tell me that now for about a week, and guess what?
It's not
I didn't have
sinking
the other earphone in. That guy,
Yeah. So, anyways, great. We're up. slightly in, we're up, an average of 2% across all of the indices, except yesterday we were down 10% across all of them. So I guess that is a positive development, kind of, maybe. I don't know. Today's news, Oxley reported earnings, and
What was the revenue?
2.3 million or 2.8 million, I can't remember right now off the top of my head, but it was a 2 something number. And, to their credit, losses are incrementally improving from like 5 cents last quarter or last year. I can't remember which that is either. Too many Chardonnays at lunch.
You have a few Chardonnays?
No, Pinot Grigios. And but they're
stuff.
down to 2 cents per share loss now. So the pattern is clear. Oxley has a shot. 600 million shares outstanding, but, Canopy or Aurora has 1 billion, so we're not going to hold that against them. CanTrust, cease trade order. They requested a cease trade order.
Or you mean that they've halted the stock?
No, just management can't sell theirs.
Oh, now they've done that.
Yeah, at their request.
What, did they already sell out? They say no more selling.
That's right.
We've sold our
Now that
position.
we're flat. Now we blew out our paper when we got the first phone call about our accidentally growing in illegally in rooms. No. Anyways, CanTrust is the dumpster fire that just keeps on burning, isn't it? It's like, what do they pour nitrogen on that? Hydrogen, rather? What else? Big news. Green Organic Dutchman is now available in the Ontario Cannabis Store. Do you care? Huh?
Why? They got something special?
Yeah. Well, what are you talking about? It's organic. Hello. How many selections on the whole OCS inventory do you think are organic? Take a wild guess.
10%.
Huh? 10%. Do you know how many SKUs there are in the OS? Okay, it's time for us to visit the OCS. Here, they want me to put in my birth date. I'm going to put the first day of January.
1910.
I'm going to go with 1900, just so that there's no doubt that this is a faulty stat. Cam will be on. People are already asking, when's Cam going to be on if you're on the YouTube channel?
Soon.
Cam's going to be on in about 8 minutes. And we're going to talk. I'm going to talk to him for almost the rest of the show, I think. So, because he's got a lot going on, and we had a great conversation over lunch. Cam is never at a loss for words, A, which makes him an excellent guest. B, he is erudite and articulate. And what that means is he knows his shit. Bestsellers of the week on the Ontario Cannabis Store is San Rafael Pink Kush. This is obviously a high THC.
Pink Kush?
Yeah, I'm up on, there we go.
Is that a flower product?
Well, what do you think this is? This is it right here. Can you see? Oh, you can't see my mouse on this sucker. Boy, I thought there we go. That's the Pink Kush.
From
cannabis plant.
But who's selling it? Because I buy
Who sells San Rafael? Wasn't San Rafael 71? Isn't that a brand of, let's see, does anybody in the control room know? Let's go down here, see if we can see. San Rafael, it doesn't say. You mean who is the publicly traded entity who owns this? San Rafael. Okay, you know what?
So is San Rafael the name of the company? Or is it where it's grown?
Okay. Let's take a break. Let's take a news break, shall we?
Let's listen to some news.
How about some news?
Hello everyone, and this is your news for today. Oxley Cannabis Group released its financial results for the 3 and 6 months ended June 30th, 2019. Net losses in the second quarter of 2019 were $14 million, equating to 2 cents per share on a basic and diluted basis. For the 3 and 6 months ended June 30th, 2019, Oxley recognized $2.8 million and $3.6 million of revenues, respectively. CanTrust Holding announced receipt of its management cease trade order and provided an interim update on various matters. CanTrust announced that its application for a management cease trade order has been approved by the Ontario Securities Commission. The MCTO prohibits the directors and executive officers of the company from trading in securities of the company until 2 full business days after all CanTrust filings. Trading of the company's securities on the TSX and NYSE continues. However, the NYSE advised the company that if the company fails to file its annual report, they will determine whether to halt trading in the company's securities. Lastly, under the supervision of the special committee, the company is preparing a remediation plan for submission to and consideration by Health Canada. MPX International announced that MPXI Malta Property, an 80% owned Maltese company, has completed the acquisition of all outstanding shares of Alpha Pharma operations. Alpha Pharma is in the business of acquiring, repackaging, and distributing pharmaceutical products throughout the European Union and North Africa. MPX paid 1.5 million euros in cash and issued 1 million common shares and 300,000 common share purchase warrants at 63 cents per share. The Green Organic Dutchman Holdings has completed its inaugural shipment to the Ontario Cannabis Store, marking the company's entrance into Canada's recreational market. True Leaf Cannabis opened the doors of a new Clearwater Beach location. The new storefront marks their 31st physical Florida location. Bang Inc. has signed an exclusive agreement with a team built around one of the largest distributors in Puerto Rico that specializes in CPG to distribute Bang's full suite of award-winning CBD products. It's expected that the first shipment of Bang products will be received in 30 days. This distribution agreement offers an opportunity for Bang to expand the company's operational footprint and achieve full Caribbean distribution with its Puerto Rico partner in the near future. And that's your news for today, and for more, go to the Cannabis Daily on MidasLetter.com.
Hey, ring-a-ding-ding, we're back. There's the news for the day. Anyways, so San Rafael is a product of MedRelief, which is now owned by Aurora Cannabis. And I had quite the conversation with Cam. Do you know Cam Battley?
I've met him several times here, and I've seen him around.
You've seen him around, have you? You won't mind if
we
I
go to the same bars.
put him in your seat for a moment, will you?
No.
You
listen,
sure?
I'm gonna. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go outside and maybe
Masturbate? Smoke a joint, I mean. Whoa. Wait, it's Friday. Okay.
All right. I'm out of here. Hey,
You get
know
out
what?
of here.
I'm out of here.
Okay.
Okay.
You know what? When I come back, I'm going to be talking to Cameron Battley, and we're going to talk about pretty much everything, and I'm going to ask him some tough questions. I even call them tough questions. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Make sure you never miss a show by subscribing to our YouTube channel and clicking on the little notifications bell. If you're interested in getting monthly actionable investment ideas in the cannabis space to your inbox, subscribe to the newsletter at MidasLetter.com. Hey, I'm joined by Cam Battley now. He's the Chief Corporate Officer of Aurora Cannabis. You all know where that trades. Cam, welcome back.
Nice to see you again.
Cam, it's good to have you back. How's your summer going?
Very good, other than the obvious with respect to the markets being red in this sector.
To me, it strikes me as a healthy evolution of the market, that it goes down as well as going up.
I'm glad you think it's healthy because our shareholders are not using that particular word.
I can just imagine. Frustrating as it may be for markets to aspirate, but being a living organism, as most markets are, they do have to breathe out as well as in.
Look, you're absolutely right. And I would say, first of all, a couple things. One, Aurora has been distant from the drama and the convulsions and the difficulties that we have seen in this sector. And I find that sometimes a little frustrating, that we keep quietly keeping our nose to the grindstone and executing consistently, continued growth across all of our distribution channels. And we're doing what we promised to do, not just this year, but over several years. And I would honestly like to see over time, something I'd like to achieve, is a bit of a decoupling of Aurora from the sector. Bundling us in with every other company in the sector, I don't think is appropriate anymore. I think we've achieved a level of scale and discipline that sets us apart. But let me add this. I know that there's a lot of concern about the cannabis sector as a whole, and I think that there's perhaps more concern than warranted. This sector is going to be okay. And sometimes, in a market that is so heavily retail, as cannabis is right now, overwhelmingly so, we know that retail markets tend to trade on emotion and on news, and that's why you see a lot of the volatility that you don't see in mature industries. I think it's probably worthwhile for investors in the sector to take a deep breath, take a look at what they liked about those companies in the first place, take a look at what they like about the opportunity of being early movers in a brand new global industry, and reassess whether things are really so bad. I don't think they are. I think the sector is going to be all right.
Sure. Well, it should be easy enough to differentiate yourself from the rest of the industry. It would be just turning a profit.
Yes.
And your recent projections suggest that, the guidance suggests that you are getting very close to that and some serious revenue.
Well, so yeah, we put out guidance, a little over a week ago, and I think it was pretty important. We've seen some kind of weak earnings reports from some companies. We wanted it to be clear that we're not experiencing some of the challenges that some of the others are, temporary or otherwise. And so based on our guidance, we're anticipating in excess of 100 million in net revenues, over 90 million, between 90 and 95 million in cannabis revenues. And that makes Aurora the global revenue leader in the cannabis sector, which is gratifying because it's something that we anticipated quite some time ago, and I think a lot of people found I think they had a hard time believing that we'd be able to achieve it, but we have. And if you just take a look at the last 18 months, Aurora's production has gone from about 5,000 kilograms per year to over 150,000 kilograms per year. So it's a 30 times increase in a very short period of time. And beyond that, we've established what we believe is the global benchmark for cannabis production. No lost crops, very high quality, yields that I don't think anybody's ever seen at scale before. And we've found the markets globally to be able to distribute that. So we're the leaders in medical cannabis in Canada. We're the leaders in medical cannabis internationally. And we're the leaders now, apparently, according to third-party reports, in the Canadian adult consumer market as well. So it's continued growth. It's a lack of drama, a lack of crisis, and that's based on solid production techniques. It's based on a very strong management team with a few people that I do want to make shout outs to. And also I think it's a validation of our overall business model, and that's a testament to Terry Booth, our CEO and co-founder.
Okay, so you're reporting your Q4 and year-end for fiscal 2018, correct? Now, how is your net number going to look relative to analyst consensus?
We're going to be pretty darn close. We obviously maintain close relationships with the analysts. We give them access to all the information that they need. So we're going to be pretty close to where analysts have anticipated that we would be. It's one of the reasons that we put out this guidance. We want there to be no surprises. We want to lead this sector in transparency as well as in other things. And we want to have clarity, and we want to let people know what to expect. So that's why we put out the guidance. We are continuing to track towards positive EBITDA, as indicated earlier in the year. And I'm very, very pleased with that. And I'll tell you why. By putting a stake in the ground that we were taking profitability and that path to profitability seriously, it applied a whole new level of discipline to our operations. We're not pushing out the promise of profitability, year after year after year. And while we do believe that it's critical to establish infrastructure globally while this window of opportunity exists, we don't think that that conflicts with the opportunity to achieve profitability. So I'm very, very pleased with the way we're doing. I'm very pleased with the way we've disciplined our operations and managed our resources. But once again, you've heard me say before, and I think I mentioned it on our last earnings call, that in my view, over the next couple of years, the critical success factor in this sector will be producing and selling via multiple distribution channels a hell of a lot of cannabis. And we're doing that like nobody else right now. So I wouldn't want to be any other cannabis company other than Aurora today.
Sure, of course. All right, let's talk a bit about your upsizing of your traditional banking facility from 200 million to 360 million.
Yep.
Obviously, lots more firepower in the bank account to do the things that you guys are doing. What is the implications of that come August 2021? Under what circumstances would you not be in a position to pay that back according to the schedule required?
Look, according to our projections, we're not going to have any difficulty paying back debt. The most important thing to take away from the upsizing of the credit facility is, I think it's about confidence. It's about the consistency of our operations and our execution. and it's about the credibility of the company. Our assets are valuable, and we've validated those assets, such as our Aurora Sky facility at Edmonton International Airport. And by the way, we have additional Sky Class facilities under construction in Medicine Hat and in Odense, Denmark. But it speaks to the credibility of the company. This is the largest amount of traditional debt that any cannabis company has been able to access thus far. And I've said this before. I think that this is very important for Aurora in that it puts us apart from the rest. But Aurora is at the leading edge of this industry, and so I think a broader takeaway would be that this is good for the industry at large, that Schedule 1 banks, and we've actually added additional Schedule 1 banks to the syndicate that is providing this credit facility. Schedule 1 banks are now leaning in. They're getting involved. They're accepting and believing and banking on the fact that this is going to be a successful long-term industry, and it's a good risk.
So for shareholders, you've slowed down on the acquisition trail.
You noticed.
Yeah, well, as a shareholder, who wouldn't notice that?
Yeah.
And that is comforting to shareholders because every acquisition, while it does build the footprint of the company on the global stage, it makes one a little bit uncomfortable with the idea of earnings per share in the future. So
well, this goes back to what I said about the guidance that we put out in January of this year. We signaled a shift in our strategy, an evolution, I guess, in our strategy. And what we said at the time is that we believed that we had substantially assembled the assets and capabilities in Canada that we needed to be a or the leader going forward, and that our future focus for M&A would be on a global scale, opening up new markets. And we've done that successfully too. We're now operating in 25 global markets, 25 countries. And that's by far the biggest global footprint in the industry. But along with that, and along with the new discipline and that focus on that pathway to profitability, we also indicated we would be slowing down some of the M&A. It's not that we regret anything that we've done in the past, it's just that we felt that we had reached a point where we had those assets and capabilities, and now we were able to shift gears. And it happened at a very good time because what I've been hearing and what we've been hearing from the institutions is that they're looking for a greater focus on that pathway to profitability, that we can't keep operating, keep raising money, keep expanding without caring about and putting a schedule on when we're going to get to profitability. So I'm pleased that I think we got the timing right with the major institutions, and I think that will pay off for Aurora very well, because I think probably relative to most of our peers, we're going to be ahead of them in terms of the timeline to profitability.
That's super intriguing. Now, the whole industry is suffering from a discounting process over the course of the summer, largely because investors sell in May and go away when they've made a lot of good money. But also, the earnings have been disappointing from the industry at large, primarily at the point of sale. And what is clearly emerging is that the influence of the black market on the ability of companies to generate significant revenue is not just present, but expanding, as evidenced by Colorado's release recently of a chart showing that each year they seize more plants from illegal operations because these non-licensed entities are able to hide behind the licensed industry and do a better business. To what extent is that going to impact Aurora's ability to generate profit from significant sales in jurisdictions where a black market is still persistent?
You know, there was something really interesting in the most recent Stats Canada report that showed that the attitudes of purchasers of cannabis, both legal and black market, the number one driver was safety and quality. 75% of people put that as the number one consideration. This is where Aurora kills it, obviously. We don't use pesticides at our Aurora facilities. We produce exceedingly high quality cannabis that is done very, very well. We've got the leading brands in the industry, and I think, as I say, third-party reports are indicating that we've taken over the lead now in the Canadian adult consumer market. So if you've got that on your side, and you also have the ability to supply multiple jurisdictions across the country, and we're in every jurisdiction across the country, and you have the ability ability to expand into markets that other companies simply don't have the scale or the production to enter. It puts us in a very favorable position. So, where is the black market? The indications that we've seen from what data exists, and let's admit that it's imperfect, is that the legal market is gradually but steadily replacing the illegal market. There will always be some people who will look for the lowest price. Fair enough. But where we're going is to a normalized market. I often say, when was the last time you bought bathtub gin, right? If you
Bathtub gin.
Yeah.
That's
right?
a good one.
Well, so this is what was big during Prohibition.
Right.
People literally making liquor in their bathtubs. And that doesn't exist anymore. What we're also seeing is a lot of talent who previously have come from the gray and black markets moving into the legal and regulated market. That's a normal course of affairs. And so over the course of the next few years, I would anticipate in Canada, in the U.S. consumer legal states, and in other future jurisdictions that do legalize cannabis for consumer use, you'll see normalized markets develop, and the black market will get smaller and smaller and smaller. And we're already seeing that phenomenon in the consumer legal states in the U.S., where the overwhelming majority of cannabis sold is via the legal market. So we'll get there.
Fantastic. Okay, tough question number one. When is Aurora going to be profitable?
What we said in our most recent guidance is that we remain on track towards EBITDA positive, and particularly EBITDA positive on cannabis operations. So I don't want to be incarcerated for violating securities regulations, and I'll wait until we report before September 15th with our year end. But if you're asking me that if I'm confident that we are on track, we're still on track towards EBITDA positive and on that pathway to profitability, yes, and I think we are ahead of most of our peers as well.
Okay. Tough question number two. How is Aurora going to compete with low-cost equatorial grown outdoor cannabis and their extracts on the global stage, competing from a place where the cost of sales must be higher given the fact that these are ultra high-tech, purpose-built facilities of significant scale and with huge capex?
This is one of your patented, really interesting, long, multi-level questions. So
I should patent those, shouldn't I?
You really should. So let's break it down. First of all, we're involved in outdoor grow as well in Latin America.
The largest one in Canada, I understand.
The largest one in Canada, in British Columbia, in Westwold, in British Columbia, as well as another.
Did you say Westwold?
Yes.
Is that my world?
Not Westworld. Westwold.
Dang.
Yeah. And also in Quebec. And what we're doing right now, we're essentially in the research phase with our outdoor grow. But you've heard me say before that we've got a lot of science talent in our company, including one of the co-founders of Anandia Labs, who is now our chief science officer, and that's Dr. Jonathan Page, who led the team that first sequenced the cannabis genome. And through our plant science, separate from our human science, which is the clinical trials, through our plant science and through a new breeding facility that we're building in British Columbia, in Comox, we're identifying strains that can be optimized for growth in any condition: indoor, outdoor, greenhouse, northern latitudes, equatorial, and so on. We do anticipate that outdoor grow will be a piece of the puzzle, and that's why we're investing in it. At the same time, we are thinking globally. We're thinking like a global enterprise. And the challenge with outdoor grow is that there's too much risk associated with it in order to build a global enterprise solely on that basis. Because if you think about it, outdoor plants they're vulnerable. This is why we started to use greenhouses and other facilities for growing plants of all kinds. If there's a big wind, you can lose a crop. If there's a major rainstorm or hailstorm, it can wash the trichomes, the crystals of cannabinoids, right off the outside of the flower because it wears its medicine on the outside, right? You have the risk of disease, you have the risk of pests, you have risk from pesticides from nearby agricultural facilities because it's all in the wind. So we believe in outdoor grow. We think it's a part of the puzzle. We are going to be engaging in it, and we think we're going to do it better than others because we're going to have the science backing the strains that are the hardiest, that are the most disease resistant. We're going to be selectively breeding for those characteristics. So there's that. Now, the other thing to bear in mind is, think about any other industry. You will see in manufacturing, for example, that it's common to make a choice between producing in a developing country, for example, that has low labor costs, or producing in a developed country and using high technology. Does that sound familiar? Mm-hmm. So this is why we are hedging our bets. We are going to be producing low-cost cannabis, mostly for extraction, on an outdoor basis. But we have completely validated this concept of our Sky Class facilities, these mass-scale indoor facilities with a glass roof, with 100% control over the critical environmental variables. And I think we've seen by some of the performance of some of our peers that being able to produce without crop loss, being able to produce that really high quality product in a controlled indoor environment, being able to deliver extremely high yields and improving yields, and those high levels of cannabinoids or active pharmaceutical ingredients. That's something that completely differentiates us from everybody else. There's nobody in the industry who's developed this kind of technology. And one of the other characteristics of these high-tech, highly automated indoor grows using robotics is its low cost. And this is where we get our high gross margins. So we're setting the pace for the entire industry in terms of margins. And that's gratifying, but it's based on a couple things. First of all, we think we will be able to command a very good price for our products, whether it be dried cannabis or derivatives. And we also know that we're going to be able to produce for a lower cost than virtually anybody. And I think ultimately you're going to see the cost of our highly automated facilities production and the cost of outdoor grow, the real cost, including QA costs and including being able to access markets. I think you're going to find those costs converging.
Okay, let's take some of the questions that our audience has so thoughtfully come up with. Simon Charette says, please ask Cam about possible new markets in Thailand, Mexico, and how much market share Aurora has taken from Canopy/competitors over the last quarter.
So let's start with the last first. I'm not really 100% confident in the sketchy data that we're able to get thus far in terms of the consumer market, but there are third-party reports that indicate that Aurora has moved into first place in the Canadian adult consumer market, which is gratifying. We know that we're putting out great products. We know that our brands are in demand. And we know that we've got the production to meet the demand. And recently we've seen one of the companies in this space get hit by Health Canada.
Oh, right. Okay.
And what that means is there's a very large amount of product that won't be there. So we've heard predictions as to when there's going to be oversupply in the Canadian market, and it keeps getting pushed back. And this has just simply done that again. So we're more than prepared with the production, I think more production than anybody else, to fill that gap as well as on the medical side. So that's the first part. The other part is with respect to new markets. And we're seeing enormous interest. I actually just had a delegation from Thailand into Aurora Sky in Edmonton this week, led by the Thai ambassador to Canada and involving a number of Thai government officials and researchers from different universities. There is enormous interest, and I love this, there's enormous interest in learning from Canada's experience. The same goes for a number of countries on different continents around the world that they want to learn from what Canada has done with respect to establishing our medical cannabis system and replicate those successes. I would gently suggest that there are some things that Canada could have done better. Perhaps I'm a broken record, but it won't surprise you to say that I don't think that it's right to tax medical cannabis. In Canada, that's the only prescription product for which any tax applies. And we have both excise tax and GST, HST on medical cannabis in Canada. And if you think this is a preview of something that I'd like to talk about ahead of the federal election, you would be right.
Okay.
But let's give Canada a lot of credit, and particularly the public servants at Health Canada. They put together a medical cannabis system in a hurry under orders by the Supreme Court of Canada. And they did it exceedingly well, and they did it to the point where other countries are coming to visit us to learn how it's done. We're the leaders. That pleases me. Makes me patriotically proud.
Sure, I'm with you there. Okay, John Doe says, what is your plan
John
for...
Doe?
John Doe.
I don't think that's a real person.
Oh, it could be John Doe.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's just their screen name. But his question is, what is your plan for the U.S. hemp market?
To enter it.
I like that. Short and to the point. Matt Barone says, James, please ask him some tough questions. Whether or not they will be EBITDA positive, we just covered that. Latin America and their plan to enter the U.S. market, we kind of just covered that.
I'll go into a bit more detail
Okay.
about that. So Latin America, we've established very strong infrastructure there. It is performing well. It's ticking along. We do have to wait for the markets to actually launch in some countries. Brazil is a good example. There's limited opportunities right now, but there are going to be very major opportunities, and that's a very large population. In fact, the key reason for our investments in ICC Labs and elsewhere in Latin America is because we know there's going to be a strong market there, and we want to get in first. We want to get in early, establish the relationships, build that infrastructure so that we're ready as the markets switch on. Initially medical, and we anticipate in certain countries, ultimately consumer. There have been some noises about consumer legalization in a number of countries in Latin America. So that's a population of 600 million people, and you want to be early. You want to have those relationships. You want to have the infrastructure prepared, and you want to be able to take advantage as those markets start to grow. So we're very, very pleased with that. What was the other part of the question?
Well,
entering the U.S.
Right.
Yeah. So as I've said before, our U.S. strategy is multiple points of entry. And we've been in the U.S. now for some time, since, I guess about a year ago, with Australis Capital, which is assembling this lovely suite of assets and capabilities in the U.S., and for which we have a back-in right. And that was our first step into the U.S. market. We've also entered the U.S. market through our partnership with UFC. Are you a fan of mixed martial arts?
I am a mixed martial arts fighter.
Holy cow. We're going to have to get a beer.
I'm just kidding.
So
I am not a mixed martial arts fighter in the UFC sense, but I have fought with every aspect of my body over time in various situations. So
you must need some CBD.
I definitely need to be a CBD consumer.
Because so do the fighters. And so
Yes.
we have a research partnership with the UFC, a multi-year partnership.
We had a UFC fighter on as a guest recently.
Really?
I can't remember his name. He's a Canadian contender. I'm going to say championship, but I'll show you that segment in an email. But
Lovely.
Now that I know that Aurora is actually UFC connected, I'm going to reach out to more of those
So
guys.
we are, and in fact, a couple months ago, I was with our team, our extended team in Las Vegas, and I got to see my first live UFC fights, which was astonishing. It's really intense, and these athletes, they really are incredible because they train year round, right? So they don't have an off season. They train and fight year round. And the Performance Institute, established by the UFC to help these athletes be in absolutely optimal shape, is incredibly impressive. In fact, the entire UFC operation is massively impressive, and we're delighted to be partners with them. But what we're going to be doing is researching together the therapeutic utility of CBD for things such as injury recovery, exercise recovery, and even injury prevention. This is a very significant entry and a long-term partnership, so a very significant entry into the U.S. market. And then, of course, people are wondering, when are we going to make a move with respect to hemp-derived CBD? When are we going to make additional moves into the U.S.? And obviously, I can't reveal that right now. Once again, we have to be worried about selective disclosure every time we talk about it. But we do anticipate moving into the U.S. via different points of entry. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If you want to be the global leader, you have to be a leader in the United States, and we will be.
Okay. There's actually several instances of people wanting to know, and I'm just going to qualify their questions into a more linear sort of topic. When is the relationship with Nelson Peltz going to result in some value for shareholders of Aurora?
You know what? I would actually say that the relationship with Nelson Peltz is already paying off. You haven't seen us announce yet partnerships with companies in mature industries, but you've heard what our strategy is, and that is to optimally enter multiple verticals and also not give away control. So we've seen the experience of a couple of companies in our sector who've given up control. They've given up control of their boards and significant equity to a single company in a single vertical. And that's not the way we want to go. We think that we know best how to open up cannabis markets, both medical and consumer, on a global basis. And it's not being arrogant. It's simply that we're in a sector that is brand new, for which there's no blueprint and there's no map forward. We think that we've made more right moves than anybody else. And we don't think that another company in some other mature industry can easily come in and tell us how to grow the global cannabis business better than we can. So, maintaining our independence is key. Partnering with multiple companies in different verticals is our objective. Nelson is the most, not just connected, but wise advisor we could possibly have. And so that is moving forward. I know that people would like us to have announced some partnerships by yesterday. But the reality is, it takes time. The negotiation happens on both sides, and we want to get it right. You've heard me say, let's measure twice and cut once, because once you establish these long-term, significant, multi-year partnerships, it's very hard to modify them. So you really want to get it right the first time.
You bet. Okay, Lost in Boston wants to know, I wish I could get some Aurora swag to wear in spirit of the call. Can we order...
Is that Lost in Boston or Lost in Bolton?
Bolton.
Yes.
Sorry, Bolton.
Who's a Twitter follower, so
right.
Shout out to Lost in Bolton.
Okay, says, I wish I could get some Aurora swag to wear in spirit of the call. Can we order swag in the U.S. yet?
You know what? I actually checked up on that when I saw that tweet. I think it was in an airport. And according to our current regulatory guidelines, we are not able to sell in the U.S., but it's under review. And I do hope that through our Aurora gift shop, we will be able to sell, obviously, non-product swag.
Right.
And we've got enormous demand for it. People love the T-shirts and the hats and the hoodies and all the other swag that we've got.
Okay, that leads me to a tough question, number 4, we'll call it. To what extent does the Canadian rules governing the advertising and promotion of cannabis products handcuff companies like Aurora from generating a robust profit?
Okay, there's 2 questions there. How does it constrain us from generating a robust profit? No. And the evidence of that is our leadership in all of the different segments: Canadian medical, global medical, and Canadian consumer. And the attractiveness of our brands. Even in a marketing constrained situation, our marketing department has done a very, very good job, and we are differentiated. And a big part of that, I'll add, is based on quality. Quality is king, and if you don't produce quality products that people actually want to consume, you're not going to be there. So does it constrain us from generating profit? No. Does it constrain us in another way? Yes, and this is a conversation that I do want to have with the federal parties. They need to understand that the current regulations that govern packaging, branding, and marketing on cannabis are both scientifically not valid, in that there's ample evidence to show that cannabis is a more benign substance than alcohol on both an individual health impact basis and on a societal impact basis. I feel very strongly about this. And we've constrained the packaging, branding, and marketing of cannabis, I would say, excessively. And it should be, and I've said this before the law was even passed, it should be harmonized with beer, wine, and liquor. If you can advertise in appropriate ways to appropriate audiences on an age-gated basis, beer, wine, and liquor, well, by God, you should be able to do the same thing with cannabis products, which scientifically are more benign. Now, why does this matter? Because on a longer-term basis, we have got to let these leading Canadian companies establish brand equity. We've got to be able to build brands. Right now, I've been very clear. I think that the number one critical success factor in this sector, globally, over the next couple of years, is being able to produce and sell a lot of cannabis, and being able to open up new markets and do that as much on a global basis as you possibly can. And we're killing it that way. But I want the opportunity for Aurora and other leading Canadian companies to be able to establish long-term global leadership by letting us build brands. Every company in every industry needs to be able to build brands to differentiate from everybody else and to compete with global companies, right? And so this is something that needs to be revisited. It's understandable that we had to start with tight regulation with the advent of this market, but now let's have that conversation again. Let's focus on a shared objective, which is continued Canadian leadership in this new global industry. Wouldn't it be a damn shame if Canada was the leader in establishing a national medical cannabis system, in establishing consumer legalization, and a properly regulated system at that's going to work very well? Wouldn't it be a shame if we set that leadership up and then let it drift away because we wouldn't let these companies be grown-up companies? So I think it's a great question from your listener, and it's something I'm going to be talking about, and I think the industry is going to be talking about a lot more in the lead up to the election and for some time after that. We've got to be real. We've got to understand that establishing global leadership means a certain amount of give and take with government.
You bet. Cam, that is a plethora of input, and thank you very much. As usual, you have been an educational source for so long. Thanks for joining me again today.
Always nice to see you.
And Cam, as usual, awesome interview. I don't think I was too.
Great speaker.
Yeah, I know. He's never stuck for something to say. That's what I love about Cam. Also, I'm impressed by his confidence with, like no problem hitting that $360 million due date on August 2021. No problem. None. Whatsoever. Well, mind you, guidance, they're reporting Q4 and year-end, fiscal 2018, on September 11th. Now, coincidence, 911? No, I don't think so, but, in this market, who the hell knows, eh?
Well, we're valuations are now in the focus or in the sights of the vultures. And look, we had a bit of a rally this morning, but it looks like some of it's given back here. I got a chart of Aurora here. This is a 6-month chart. It was as high as 13. It's now 7 change, but there doesn't seem to be any pop.
No
reason to jump in. Like the pop comes to the downside.
Yes.
That's what, like, all the lines, all the averages, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, where's my magic pen?
Yeah, well, it's going to be an interesting week next week, that's for sure. What do you think is going to happen with all of the, is this a crisis that's going to intensify or actually come out of the shadow? A lot of people looking at the markets don't really consider this in the context of crisis, but to me, this is all of the decorations that 2008 had in September and June, and that crisis took like almost a full year to get up ahead of steam to the downside. And I remember thinking, sitting on the sidelines and going, geez, I really should have got out like 8 months ago. And by then, of course, I had sealed my fate and taken my net worth down substantially, and the wealth transfer exercise orchestrated by the world's global elite succeeded in my case. And I thought, next time, this is never going to happen to me again.
Well, look, if you look at history and take a long-term chart, there's big moves up and there's big moves down.
Ooh, that's profound.
And they say that money always moves from weak to strong hands.
Really?
Well, that's what it does.
Have you seen these hands, Edward?
No.
You ever had these wrapped around your throat?
You know what?
These are strong hands, man.
You can be the smartest person in the world, but if you don't have financial discipline, and you don't have the right system, it ain't going to work. But the guys that seem to make it work think that because they can make money, then they're smart in other areas. But that's not true also. Making money is a skill unto itself, and holding on to it.
Keeping it is a skill. Making it is a fluke.
Well, it is what it is, but look.
Well, there's a couple of truths about making money that one can't deny. If you're not born in the right place at the right time, the odds of you making money are substantially lower than if you are born in the right place at the right time. In other words, the circumstances of your birth dictate the level of access you have to the wildest riches.
Sure.
So it's very difficult for a guy born in a garbage dump in Bangladesh
I hear you.
to migrate to the top of the food chain in New York. Has been done, but it's very rare. On the contrary, it's very hard for the scion of a multi-generational industrial fortune to burn through it in one generation. That is done more frequently.
Yeah. No, what you say, it can't be argued with, but and I think, when you're in when you live the lives we live,
debauchery and profligacy.
I mean, we really, put yourself in the position of something about every day having to get up and get clean water and food. And that's all you got to do.
Well, and you get to the office.
And you can't read at night because there's no electricity. So
iPad? I can't even afford a book.
It's all relative. It really is. But I think these first world problems are like bullshit, serious bullshit. Like, you get your head. We're all guilty of living extravagant lifestyles, but to consume the energy we do, and it goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
I don't like the action today. I don't like the action.
No, I would call the action, it started off a little bit bullish, but...
and we did go up 40 S&P points last check here.
Yeah, but still, it's kind of like a feeble feint to the upside that, you can see the participation and the volume's not there. Most people have buggered off for the weekend because they know that they're going to have to come back next week and batten down the hatches.
And people are down money, so you're down money, you tend not to look, right? Like, it's like the ostrich syndrome. Put your head down a hole, and
I don't want to know. But look at the cannabis indexes are all still up. Large caps up 1.94 still. The Midas Letter small cap index is up 3.39. It's actually improving. The venture index up $1.57, and the CSE index up $1.84.
If you look at that big chart there, not the big one.
The large index. You want to look at who's doing what in the large index?
I just want to pick a point. I want to see that chart. If you just looked at that chart and said, okay, the pattern is, it's down, but after a severe move down, it has a bit of a rally up. And I think we're at that point. It looks like it's oversold, and it makes us, but we don't seem to feel like we want to jump in.
See, this is funny. Look at this. Like Trulieve today loses 41 cents, and today they announced that they'd opened their 31st store in the state of Florida, which coincidentally announced recently that it had now exceeded 250,000 patients. If ever there was a stock that should have gone up today, by my reckoning, it should have been Trulieve. But look, it's down.
Jesus.
Trulieve Holdings, you know, okay, they're still suffering from that backhander from the FDA saying, we want you to reconsider your claims about CBD. So, okay, fine, that makes sense. Green Thumb Industries down 10
That's
cents.
Curaleaf, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, Hexocorp's up 26 cents or almost 5% today. What's up with that?
Well, look, and I saw OH up about 50 cents on it. It's a $8 stock. So there are pockets of sunshine out there.
Really?
It's not storming everywhere.
That's true. What are you doing this weekend, Ed?
You know, what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna say this live.
What are you going to do?
I'm gonna.
Is it, before you say it, is it G-rated or X-rated?
It's G-rated.
Okay,
I'm
continue.
going to hone the system, this loose system I have of trading the market, and I'm going to make it much more reliable.
Huh,
Yeah.
really? Oh, baby.
And probably smoke a little reefer.
So we should probably summarize our canopy growth trade that we both made money on, and I made just over $2,200 in less than.
But more importantly, it's the percentage. The number, the absolute number, we don't care about.
To me, it's like the number. It's like I just made 8 steak dinners with 4 bottles of wine each in less than 24 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though I did
only a
part of it on margin.
A couple of trading hours. So what?
Yeah,
That's
made
the
a
way to
little
do
money.
it.
Yeah, a
Look at
little
your
chicken.
return. How much did you put up? How much did you take out? You do the return. I bet you made somewhere between 5 and 10% of your
Yeah,
money.
in a day. Not even. Not even.
Duh.
Nah, I know. Boy, gotta love the stock market when it works. But now I think I'm a genius.
Right.
And now I'm already looking for something to deploy that capital
Okay,
into.
well,
so I
why
can
don't we
do it again.
wait till Monday morning?
Well, we got 5 minutes
No, but
left.
why don't we wait till Monday
Well,
morning?
we got 5 minutes left.
I know, but
Like, what about
maybe-
that Tilray?
let's
We got
wait.
3
Let's
spikes
wait.
outside of the Bollinger Band.
But I
That's a
think
buy in our
Monday
technical
morning
world.
it opens lower and we buy it. That's what I'm telling you.
You buy it on Monday morning. That's your plan?
10 o'clock.
10?
We're
The market opens at 9:30.
I know, but at 10 o'clock it'll be down more. And then
Or it'll be
that's
up.
No.
And you'll be like, shit, dick in hand, missed out.
It'll sell off sharply and then you buy it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what you think?
Tilray.
Is that like something I can take to the bank?
Well, we're going to take it to the bank.
Well, I want to buy something now.
Just give me your money.
I got money. I need to spend it now.
Remember in the National Lampoon Vacation with Chevy Chase down in Vegas and the dealer kept saying, you want me to kick you in the nuts? You remember that one?
No. Sounds great. I remember Chevy Chase. I don't remember that scene.
Chevy Chase.
What was the film?
National Lampoon's
okay.
Summer
every time
Vacation.
I watched that,
Las Vegas. Summer
every
Vacation.
time I watched that, I was so freaking high that, of course, I never remembered seeing it.
Oh,
if I
it's
saw
a
it
funny
today,
movie. That is so funny.
it would be like watching. Oh, look, Trulieve just jumped in price.
There you go.
Might have been. Oh, we moved markets. Anyways.
Okay, well,
There
it's
you go.
357. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking to buy Tilray
Okay,
sometime in the first 20 minutes
Yeah.
on Monday.
Yeah.
And try and sell it maybe by Monday night.
All right, let's jump back to the index for the look back on the week. Here's how the week shaped up for the Cannabis Large Cap Index. We brought the week in at 8,840, opened at 8,876, and we closed the week at 7,907. Oh, actually, we're not closed yet, but we're close to that. So basically, another big step down for the cannabis industry generally. Obviously affected largely by the action in the S&P, the inversion of the bond rates, all of these negative flashing indicators about global recession. Even a bull market cannot survive a recessionary environment. Did you say that's true?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, but they don't
Let's
last long.
close off the week.
They don't last long.
Let's close off the week with, what do you buy in a recessionary environment where markets are down and bond rates, bonds are screwed? What do you buy?
I think you buy gold and silver.
I thank you for that, Ed, because obviously that's what I would have said too. Now,
And this may be a very long cycle. If it's prolonged, you've got time. Don't think you've missed it. This is just heating up, boys.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a message.
And girls.
And girls. Yeah.
Pets.
Boys have boys, and girls have girls. Eh?
Girls have what?
Girls.
Girls?
And boys have boys. Okay.
Well, that's pretty interesting.
You know what? That's a statement of fact. There's no innuendo there.
Really? That's a fact?
That's a
Jack?
fact.
That's a fact, Jack.
That's the fact, Jack.
Do you remember
Okay.
what was that movie with Bill Murray?
They were in the army.
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
called. It was a funny name.
Yep.
They were recruiting,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they won the and they
Yeah,
went
yeah.
to Europe
Yeah, yeah.
in a fake war. You know.
Doctor.
What was that?
I can't remember.
That's the fact, Jack.
That's a fact, Jack. That's all I remember about that film. And Bill Murray was in it.
Okay.
All right, then.
All right.
Let's take one last look at the market
I want to
here.
see what Tilray's closing at.
You want to see what it's closing at?
31.31. That almost looks like something's wrong there. You know.
Really? Yeah, like the market's about to crash. Well, here's the thing. All the indexes are up. But, Tilray's obviously got a problem. I think Tilray's suffering from a crisis in confidence by a lot of its non-core shareholders, which is...
Actually, when the tail's bigger than the wick, that's also a good sign if you're looking for a bottom on a falling thing, like in this case. The tail is a little bit bigger than the wick.
All right, so Tilray is one of the first things we're going to look at. We're going to try to make some money there next week. We've got a whole bunch of new stuff coming up next week. We've got, we've got Narbe Alexander who's going to join us from Canopy Rivers. We're going to try to get to Mark Zakulin up at Canopy Growth in Smiths Falls. We've been invited up there. We'll confirm that next week. And so we've got lots of big names coming up on the show next week. Join us, please. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Go to the website and subscribe. I'm publishing a daily letter now full of actionable ideas. MidasLetter.com/subscribe. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.
When you want to see.